Happy birthday, Brooke. We hope you enjoy this birthday surprise. Right now it's impossible to meet up with the people we love, so they've done something extra special just for you. Thank you so much to everyone who made this so special, and happy birthday, Brooke.
A long driveway lined with trees led us to the house, our new house. The old red bricks of the house were covered in ivy and climbing honeysuckle. I was the middle of the three sisters. My name is Brooke. I was 9 back then, almost 10. My eldest sister Erin was 11, and my younger sister Phoebe was 8. Our house was an old, elaborate Victorian mansion with billions of rooms. At first I thought I'd never find my way around. It was all one big maze. But now, of course, 6 years later, I know all its corridors and rooms like the back of my hand. My sisters and I got our own room each. Mum and Dad shared, and there were still 3 guest rooms left.
But our story starts up in the attic, right at the very top of the house. I was helping Mum and Phoebe set the table for lunch the day we moved, when Mum told me to go in the attic and fetch Dad and Erin, who were loading stuff in the attic with stuff we wouldn't need over the next few weeks. Dad, Erin, I called up the ladder into the attic. Lunch is ready. Thank you, Brooke, Dad shouted down as his legs appeared at the top of the ladder. We're coming now. Then he yelled back up the ladder. Erin, food's ready. Come on down. Okay, came a muffled response. And down the ladders clambered Erin. Dad, I asked, can I quickly go up in the ladder and have a look in the attic? It looks really exciting. Okay, but be quick and watch out for monsters. I pulled a face and then clambered up through the hatch.
The attic was huge. The roof was supported by aged wooden beams, and dust circled between the long shafts of light that came from the small window. There were boxes and crates everywhere. As I walked through the room, I realised that as well as all of our new moving stuff, there was older stuff. As I made my way towards the window, it towered in large, mysterious shapes. When I reached the back of the attic, I noticed a large trunk that had a picture painted very delicately on its side. The painting was of a woman in a beautiful red dress with a coloured scarf over her hair. She was standing under a tree. She had gold bracelets on her wrists, and each hand resting on the head of a tiger. They were so calm. The one on the lady's left was standing on all fours, nuzzling at her skirt, while the one on her right was sitting on the grass, looking admiringly up at her. The trunk was dark brown wood, probably teak. It was much, much bigger than most of the other boxes.
I took a step closer and reached out to touch it. It, too, was covered in a thick layer of dust. It was very old, indeed, by the looks of it. I glanced behind me to check that Erin and Dad were gone. It'll take only a minute, I thought, so I opened it. When I lifted the lid, I almost dropped it because it was so heavy. I managed to half pull, half throw it onto the ground. Its contents were all neatly arranged. There were books and interesting instruments, boxes and smaller chests.
One thing they all had in common, despite being completely different objects, was that they all had the same scene painted in the same delicate way, whether it be on the top, on the side, or on the bottom. I had no idea what this strange trunk was, or what these objects were, but I can tell you one thing for certain. I intended to find out.
After our dinner, I spent all day trying to get back up to the box in the attic, but every time something got in the way. For instance, I would say, "Mum, can I go and explore now?" And then she would say, "After you help the others carry some more things in from the van." So I would go and help carry more things in from the van. "Mum, can I go now?" "Once you and your sisters unpack your clothes and toys." "Okay." And off I went to unpack. Then finally, Mum let us go and explore, saying, "You can explore now, but don't forget that we're going to meet the neighbour." at 3 this afternoon, okay?
So off I ran. But the next problem was that now I had to get away from Erin and Phoebe. Mostly we share adventures, but I wanted to keep this to myself, at least for a while. So I suggested a game of the old classic, hide and seek. My plan was that when I went to hide, I would run off to the attic.
It'd be such a good hiding place that whoever was it wouldn't think to look there, and even if they did, they would never find me. When they called out, "Make a noise!" I wouldn't make a noise, and they wouldn't find me until Mum called us down to go and meet the neighbour.
"I'll be it," says Erin. "Okay," me and Phoebe chorused. 1, 2, 3, 4, began Erin. I only had 40 seconds to run all the way to the other side of the house before Erin started to look. So I took off, sprinting the opposite direction to Phoebe. I made it 2 corridors away when suddenly I heard a distant voice shout, "Ready or not, here I come."
I wasn't ready, but I couldn't tell Erin because I knew my voice would lead her straight to me. So I started, quickly but silently, making my way along the corridors towards the attic. It sounded like Erin had gone the other way following Phoebe instead, which gave me a little extra time. Eventually, I reached the attic. I climbed up the ladders quickly and quietly. I didn't completely close the hatch, but I left a little gap for light and so that I could hear everything that was happening downstairs. I flicked on my torch, which I had brought up with me, and carefully made my way to the trunk.
Looking in the chest, I found a leather purse of bright orange strands that coloured my fingers when I touched them, and sea pods that smelled beautiful, like Indian spices. "That's it," I whispered to myself. "The chest must be from India." I grabbed my Indian fact book, which was stuffed into one of our boxes. Looking through its pages, I found a section entitled Indian Heirlooms. It seemed like it was a tradition in some wealthy families to mark precious objects with an image or crest. Some had lions on, like the Patel family. Maybe that's what the picture meant. But these tigers were on everything. It seemed so mysterious. The woman in the picture must have been someone very special. If only there was a way to find out.
"Girls," called Mum, "it's time to go." My time was up. I wondered when I would next be able to come up here to the attic and have a look. Anyway, I promptly closed my book and put it in the box with all the other objects. I hastily climbed down, and as soon as my feet hit the ground, I sprinted as fast as I could along the corridor. Even though we lived right out in the countryside, away from lots of people, it still wasn't a very long journey to the farmer's house. So we walked instead of taking the car. We walked for about a mile along the country road until we came across another old brick house. It was exactly like ours, but instead of the walls being made of old red brick, it was built with whitewashed stone.
We walked up a long stony path that was surrounded by beautiful large flower beds. There were all sorts of flowers: purple crocuses and yellow daffodils, violets, peach, yellow and pink roses, and many, many more. As we walked up the drive, the sun was shining, making everything look even more beautiful and even more bright than before. We came to 2 huge oak double doors of the old house, and Mum pulled the chain. But we didn't hear any noise, so we knocked instead, thinking that the chain was probably too old to work properly anymore. The door was pulled open by a woman. Her age was hard to tell. Although her hair was grey and her golden skin wrinkled, her eyes were bright and full of fun.
"Hello, I'm Asita," she said. "Come on in, Smithsons. How are you?" She was warm and cheery, and she spoke with a slight accent that I didn't know. She led us to a room that was very similar to our living room. There was a large fire burning in the hearth and big red and gold sofas dotted around the room. "Who would like some tea?" she asked. "Oh, Mum, can we have some?" we chorused. "Of course, if that's all right with Asita," replied Mum, and we all turned to look hopefully at her. "Wonderful, I'll go get it ready," and she left the room.
A few moments later, she returned with one tray that had a beautiful, delicate china teapot and lots of matching cups. Here you are. I'll just go and get the other set. And before we knew it, she was back in the kitchen. Again, she returned with another set of tea and cups. And this is our Indian tea, boiled with milk, ginger, and plenty of brown sugar, if anyone would like to try it. My grandparents always made it like that.
At that moment, my eyes flicked to the teapot that Asita had just brought in, holding the Indian tea. Then it struck me. The teapot also had the same picture that was on all the objects that were in the trunk. They must have belonged to her. Asita must have followed my eyes to the picture because she asked me, "Have you seen that picture before?" When I said yes, a smile flickered across her face. Then she said abruptly, "Brooke, could you help me with something in the kitchen?" Once we were there, she said in a low voice, "So you have found the trunk?"
I nodded, and she reached up into one of the cupboards and brought down an old wooden tea box. Inside, there were lots of very odd-looking black and white photos. They were of an old lady, and she wasn't alone. In every picture, she was with the most magnificent tigers. In some, her arms were around them, or she is gently stroking their fur. There was even a newspaper clipping with the title, "Man-Eating Tiger Tamed by Woman."
"Who is this lady?" I breathed. "This was my grandmother. The trunk you found was all her stuff. My father brought it back with him from a trip to India when she died. He never opened it because his heart was broke when she died." When I asked if she wanted it back, she laughed warmly and gestured around the room. "No, my dear. Do you think this old lady needs more junk?" But she had a twinkle in her eye, as if there were more to tell.
When we had finished the tea, Asita let us explore her house. Most adults don't let us do that. It was wonderful. The carpets felt soft and luxurious as we padded up the stairs. As I looked at the photographs hung on the walls, I saw another young woman with long black hair and a flowing dress. But when I looked closely, I recognized Asita's eyes and smile. In the picture, she had a gold bracelet on and was surrounded by animals, wild horses, foxes with their cubs, a red squirrel, and all sorts of birds, from falcons and swallows to a tiny firecrest perched on her finger. "But how?" I whispered. "How is this possible?"
Now it was home time. We just said our goodbyes and were just about to leave. In fact, the rest of my family were already outside. But Asita called me back. "Brooke," she whispered, "come here." I went over to where she was standing. "When you get home and next go to the trunk, I want you to have a look for a small box. It looks like the others with the same picture, but it's all gold instead of green. Inside it you will find something that used to help my grandmother tame the fiercest creatures. I want you to have it." "Thank you, Asita," I said. "Thank you." And as I stepped out the door, I called back, "Thank you, bye." And we set out home in the twilight air.
When we got home, we were allowed to do as we wished until tea was ready. So I ran away to the attic to see what was in the box. I found the one she was talking about, with the lady tiger picture and the gold background. When I opened it, there was a shimmering gold bracelet. I couldn't believe that Asita was giving me such a beautiful thing. I put it on, and straight away a little baby mouse came scuttling out from the darkness of the boxes and crates, and when I picked it up, it curled up softly in my palm. I walked to the open window, and instantly a blue tit flew over to me. I put out my finger, and it landed on it. It was so tame, and it even let me pet its feathers. This bracelet was so magnificent. I kept it from that day until now. And even as I'm writing this, 6 years later, it is my most treasured possession. I don't have time to write down the adventures I've had. Who knows what's next? One day, I might meet a tiger.
Happy birthday, Brooke.
Happy birthday, Brooke.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday, Brooke.
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 And I'd like to wish you a very happy birthday, Brooke. Hope you have a good one.
Happy birthday, Brooke! 100了100了100了100了，niech żyje nam! 100了100了100了100了，niech żyje nam! Niech żyje nam, niech żyje nam, niech żyje 100 lat szczęścia, pomyślności, niech żyje nam! A kto? Brooke! Hope you have the loveliest day, and I'm so sad that I can't be there, so sending all of my hugs and kisses, and hope you have the best day ever, and enjoy the story. I mean, I've only seen a part of it, and it sounds amazing. Can't wait to hear all of it. Love y'all!
Hello,
Brooke.
Brooke.
We heard it was your 10th birthday.
And we just want you to have a lovely day. We hope you get lots of lovely presents and you've had a lovely time with your family and you get a nice cake and lots of lovely things to eat.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Brooke.
Happy birthday, Brooke.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brooke. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Happy birthday, Brooke.